Hey there, Warriors family. Get ready to dive into the latest bombshell from the Bay as we unpack some jaw-dropping words from the man calling the shots on the sideline. Right after I say this, make sure you obliterate that like button and hit subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report so you never miss a moment of our fearless franchise's biggest stories. Picture this. It's Game 1 of the Western Conference quarterfinals against the Timberwolves, and our fearless leader steps onto the court looking as unstoppable as ever. But barely 13 minutes in, Stephen Curry, our floor general, sharpshooting, wizard, and heart and soul of Golden State, clutches his hamstring and hobbles out of the arena. A grade 1 muscle strain in his left posterior thigh, a first in Curry's career and the moment that flipped this series on its head. The immediate shockwaves sent ripples through the locker room and silenced a Bay Area crowd hungry for playoff magic. Now skip forward 2 weeks to the post-mortem press conference, where Coach Steve Kerr didn't dance around the truth. With steely conviction and a sprinkling of that trademark Kerr wit, he laid bare his theory. If he'd had another day or two of rest, we might have avoided this, Kerr said, pointing squarely at the brutal grind of the NBA schedule and the relentless wear and tear on a Warrior's body. He went on to highlight the mountain of scientific literature linking inadequate recovery and fatigue to increased injury risk, and hinted that financial incentives too often overshadow player welfare. The subtext: somewhere between back-to-back road trips, late-night flight arrivals, and the league's demand for weekend showcase games, our two-time MVP's body was pushed to the breaking point. Could this be a wake-up call for Golden State's front office and perhaps the entire NBA? Is it possible that our championship run and the league's TV-driven calendar come at too steep a price? Fans are already buzzing. If Curry, with his impeccable training regimen and legendary durability, can suffer a historic muscle strain, what does that mean for the rest of our star-powered league? Some insiders believe this might force a seismic shift in how teams approach recovery, load management, and overall player health. Imagine a future where the playoffs get a day off between games, or where mid-season travel schedules get a serious overhaul. Could the NBA actually pull back on its non-stop spectacle to protect its biggest attractions? Back in San Francisco, whispers have begun in the locker room. Teammates marvel at Curry's determination, recounting how he skated through extra conditioning sessions just days before the injury, only to find his body protesting once the whistles blew. Draymond Green, no stranger to physical tolls himself, is reportedly firing messages to the training staff, demanding answers and insisting on ramped-up recovery protocols. And Klay Thompson, he's quietly accelerating his own mid-season rest plan, now acutely aware that even the sturdiest foundation can crack under constant stress. Meanwhile, veteran role players have chimed in through social media, some defending the brutal pace as an unavoidable price of being an NBA superstar, others arguing that the league must reconsider a one-size-fits-all schedule when teams are already juggling wear-and-tear concerns, global travel, and ever-growing demands from broadcasters. Could this debate ultimately lead to player commissions and coaches uniting to renegotiate the calendar? If champions like the Warriors become advocates for change, there's real power behind those words. And let's not ignore the broader ripple effect on team strategy. Before this season, load management was a dirty word in Golden State, something reserved for whispered off-season plans. Now, with Taylor Swift concerts in Los Angeles and late-night national TV spots, could Todd Bo Swift and his analytics squad finally get green lights to rest starters more aggressively? Will we see Curry sit out select regular season matchups to ensure peak performance come April? Fans are asking whether these protective measures could disrupt our offensive rhythm or, dare I say, keep our championship windows wide open for a few more years. Consider the psychological aftermath. Our opponents in the West are watching closely. The Timberwolves seized momentum off that Game 1 injury and marched into the second round with a vigor fueled by our misfortune. Other contenders, think Lakers, Suns, Nuggets, will note that a fatigued Curry is a more mortal one. Could rival coaches start game planning around forced rest scenarios, scheming to exploit fatigue on back-to-back nights? Suddenly, roster depth and bench contributions become even more critical. Role players all across the league take note. Your minutes could skyrocket if starters need extra downtime. And what about the narrative for our beloved coach? Steve Kerr, a mastermind praised for his offensive schemes and player relationships, has now positioned himself as a crusader for player health. Some traditionalists will grumble, accusing Kerr of making excuses. Others will laud his willingness to shine a spotlight on an issue that transcends our franchise. Could this be the moment Kerr steps from behind the bench to the front lines of league-wide policy discussions? Might we see him chair a committee at the next owners' meeting, demanding schedule transparency and mandatory rest days? On the flip side, financial realities can't be ignored. Broadcasters pay top dollar to fill calendars with marquee games. Arenas rake in revenue from non-stop ticket sales. At what point does the bottom line outweigh player longevity? Could we witness a clash so fierce that it forces the first mid-season lockout threat over scheduling rights? It's a speculative leap, but when you consider the billions at stake, no possibility seems too far-fetched. But let's bring it back to Warriors News fan report. Our Niners will rise from this setback. Warriors fans know that adversity breeds greatness. We've seen this team bounce back after KD's departure, after Clay's ACL tear, after Draymond's suspension. If anything, this injury might fortify our resolve. Could this become the season where Steph returns stronger than ever, where every single practice and late-night review session is underscored by that moment he clutched his thigh? Some insiders believe that Curry's unbreakable spirit, coupled with a revamped recovery plan, could set a new gold standard for durability in this league. So, as you mull over Coach Kerr's bold assertions, wondering whether responsibility lies with the schedule makers, the front office, or even the broader economics of our sport, one thing is certain: this conversation is far from over. Warriors Nation, what do you make of Kerr pointing the finger at inadequate recovery and fatigue? Do you buy that the NBA's glitzy calendar is overdue for a shakeup? Or do you think this is just another chapter in the endless saga of load management debates? I can't wait to hear your take in the comments below. Let's get this discussion raging hotter than a Splash Brother three-pointer. If this deep dive fired you up, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report so you'll be front and center when we bring you every twist and turn of this story. Stay golden, and we'll catch you next time. All right, Warriors Nation, if you haven't already, go ahead and crush that subscribe button and ring the bell on Warriors News Fan Report so you're here the moment we break down every twist and turn of this unfolding saga. As we pick up where we left off, let's dive headfirst into how this potential blockbuster trade could reshape the very fabric of the Golden State Warriors and the entire NBA. Imagine General Manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office brain trust convening in the draft room, trade package in hand, ready to hit send on the deal that would bring Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Bay. The proposal lands on Milwaukee's desk just as the clock begins its annual countdown to the free agency tampering period. Instantly, tension grips every scout, coach, and executive across the league. For Milwaukee, the decision isn't just about replacing a superstar. It's about safeguarding a franchise identity built around Giannis's power and pride. Yet, the lure of 3 unprotected first-round picks, plus the versatile young legs of Brandon Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga, presents a tantalizing opportunity to reboot the roster with fresh talent and draft capital. Could the Bucks really resist that kind of future-looking package, even if it means losing their foundational piece? Meanwhile, at Chase Center, whispers circulate that head coach Steve Kerr has already begun canvassing his coaching staff on potential rotations and lineup configurations. Could he feasibly stagger Giannis's minutes early in the season to preserve his legs for the playoff grind? Might we see a 3-guard lineup that mirrors the death lineup of old, only augmented by Giannis's rim-crashing dominance. Envision Steph Curry and Klay Thompson spacing the floor while Giannis patrols the paint, creating gravity so heavy that opposing defenses collapse in confusion. Draymond Green, ever the cerebral anchor, would orchestrate defensive schemes, switching onto guards with his trademark intensity, then rotating to contest shots at the rim. The sheer versatility of those four would be unprecedented. But with greatness comes complexity. The leadership dynamic in the locker room would shift. Giannis, known for his earnest and humble demeanor, would arrive with an MVP resume that demands respect but also invites questions. Where does he fit in the established hierarchy? Who commands the final say in late-game situations? The seasoned vet who calls his own number with historic consistency, or the reigning Finals MVP whose gravity can single-handedly turn a game's momentum? Some insiders suggest there's mutual admiration between Giannis and Curry, a bond forged through shared agent channels and off-court encounters, but that's different from on-court chemistry. Could these two transcendent talents find a balance between hero ball and selfless motion offense? Then there's the ripple effect on the rest of the roster. Andrew Wiggins, if included in the package, would find himself donning Milwaukee green, stepping into a new role as a veteran leader on a young rebuilding squad. Meanwhile, Warriors bench stalwarts like Juan Toscano Anderson and Chris Chiozza, each beloved by the faithful for hustle plays and locker room energy, would have to adapt to reduced roles as the rotation compresses around the superstar quartet. It's a delicate juggling act. Maintain depth to survive the inevitable mid-season attrition while ensuring that role players stay invested and focused despite decreased minutes. Off the court, the financial ramifications loom large. Golden State's luxury tax bill would balloon to historic heights, potentially crossing the threshold of $200 million. Ownership would have to weigh the long-term brand boost of landing Giannis against the hit to the team's net revenue. Could the economic upswing from blockbuster ticket sales, jersey royalties, and heightened media attention offset the astronomical tax penalties? In today's NBA ecosystem, corporate sponsorships and international markets tip the scales, but only time will tell if the numbers pencil out without jeopardizing future flexibility. Consider the psychological impact league-wide. A Western Conference suddenly dominated by a Warriors team boasting 3 future Hall of Famers and a generational talent would force every contender into survival mode. The Suns, emerging from their own star-seeking machinations, would have to double down on DeAndre Ayton's development or seek another perimeter star. The Lakers, still searching for a consistent third option alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, might pivot back to big-name free agents, if any remain. Teams like the Clippers and Nuggets, armed with veteran cores but lacking a true transcendent force, would find themselves scrambling to craft counter-moves at the trade deadline or next summer. But let's not forget the human element. Giannis, now stepping into a new community and fan base, would be greeted with heroes' welcomes at Oracle Arena, Chase Center, filled with chants of his nickname, the Greek Freak. Local businesses would rush to paint their storefronts in royal blue and gold, while youth basketball camps spring up promising training tips from Giannis and Steph. The cultural impact would be immense, re-energizing a fan base still recovering from the end of the Big Three era and the fleeting Kevin Durant chapters. All that said, the title we chase remains our true north. In the turbulent waters of NBA superteam formation, only one metric matters: championships. Even if the trade goes through, the real test begins on opening night. How quickly can this new cast synchronize their strengths? Will Giannis's mid-range game flourish within Kerr's system, or will he defer too often to Curry's perimeter wizardry? Can Draymond's defensive calling card adapt to the new frontline rotations? And, crucially, does team chemistry, intangible as it is, bind these stars together rather than push them apart? The stakes couldn't be higher. For Warriors fans, every playoff run since 2015 has felt like a resounding statement of supremacy. Now, on the cusp of another potential era-defining move, we stand at a crossroads between tradition and reinvention. Do we double down on the core that built 3 titles in 4 years? Or do we blaze a new trail alongside a modern MVP? The answer will echo through the annals of franchise history. So, Warriors faithful, here's where we turn it over to you. Is this trade worth the monumental cost, or should Golden State trust in the alchemy of its existing core? Personally, I'm electrified by the prospect of seeing Curry's range and Giannis's power collide in our house. But I also cherish the identity forged through unselfish ball movement and harmonious rotations. The coming days will tell whether this blockbuster becomes reality or remains the ultimate what-if scenario. I can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments below, debate, dissect, and dream, because that's what we do as part of this incredible community. If this analysis fired you up, go ahead and drop a like on this video, subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report, and ring that notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive. Until then, stay golden.